We're going to be talking today about the issues of control or control issues. The reality for trauma survivors is that they tend to have issues around control. Sometimes survivors tend to be controlling, so they try to control their circumstances, and they may get labeled as a control freak because of how controlling they tend to be in certain situations. Or other times they tend to allow everyone else to control them, and they feel like they don't have any control over their life. They may even develop what some would call a victim mentality or a victim mindset. So when it comes to control, where do you stand? What we find what's common with trauma survivors is they end up either on one end of the spectrum or way on the other side of the spectrum. Or if they're in between, they tend to vacillate so that they're not sure on where they should have control and where they should view themselves as out of control. For instance, I was having a conversation with a client just recently, and she was saying that the child that she has some unmet needs, but she's been waiting on the father to really address the needs of this child. And she feels that it's the father's responsibility because it's her son, and the father spends a lot of time with the son, and the son lives with the father part-time. So she feels the father needs to step up and address the needs of the son. And so how does she handle the situation? Well, it was her tendency to nag the father, talk to the father, complain to the father of the child about the needs that aren't being met. And then, of course, she's frustrated that the father is not following through and meeting the needs of the child. However, when I suggested to her, well, why don't you step up and meet the needs of the child, since the needs have to be met? It's not a negotiable situation. She said, well, that's the father's job. And this is where trauma survivors find themselves, sometimes in nearly paradoxical situations, so that the job is not getting done. What's important doesn't get done because they're not sure where to assign the control, where to give and shirk off the responsibility, and where to take the responsibility. So they try to control other people. Like in this case, she wanted to control the father and get the father to step up and do truly what the father should have done. But it's not our job or our ability to control other people, is it? Even when they really should do this or should do that, it's not realistic for us to believe that we can simply tell them what they need to do and they're going to jump up and they're going to do it. We cannot control people, can we? But survivors tend to try to control what they can't control. So they focus on how they want to control the people. But then there's certain things that we can do. So in this situation, she needed to buy the son certain things that he needed. She had money, she had everything she needed to take care of the son's needs, but she felt like it should be the father's responsibility. It's not that she was wrong in whose responsibility it was. It's just that she had something she could control, but she was unable to focus on what she could control. So as survivors, we need to focus on what we can control and take the focus off of what we cannot control. Because what happens to you when you focus on something you cannot control, and you feel frustrated, and you start to feel anxious, and you may even get depressed because of this issue that you cannot control. And you're trying to get the people or the person or the thing to be the way it should be, but you cannot make it be that way, because in life there are some things that are out of our control. So we need to have the patience, we need to have the acceptance to recognize what we cannot control and not try to control it. But what trauma survivors will do is they will try to control everything in their environment, the external, because they don't feel control internally. So some trauma survivors have out of control internal shame. So because of their internal shame, they try to control everything and everyone else to accommodate their shame. So for instance, they may say, yeah, for our family vacation, I don't want to book a hotel with a swimming pool. No swimming pool. And they hyper control and micromanage the situation. Well, why are they saying that? Well, the real reason was just because they don't feel good in their bathing suit. So because of their shame, they don't want to book a hotel that everyone else may want to book. They're controlling the situation to accommodate to their shame. Many trauma survivors have internal issues, like out of control shame, that they're trying to control the outside world in order to rectify. Some have unmet needs, or they feel that their needs will be unmet if they don't control their environment. So they start trying to hyper control everyone else and make sure that they're controlling where everyone sits at the dinner table, or who's going to get which room on the vacation, and they're controlling everything. Why? Because they don't want their needs to be unmet. They're concerned that they won't have enough food for themselves. They're concerned that they won't get a room with air conditioning. And so because of their concern about them not being able to meet their own needs, they start hyper-controlling everyone else, telling everyone else what they need to do. Some people are controlling because they feel they can't trust others. So that could be the person at work that wants to take over the project because they feel other people just don't get it done the way I get it done. I really am the one who does it on a level that other people just don't meet. So I have to do all the hard stuff. So they take over projects and they don't trust other people to be able to handle any projects. But then what happens? They feel overwhelmed. They feel resentful. They feel bitter because all the work is on their shoulders and all the pressure is on them, even though they're sort of creating that. So they become controlling. Then people don't want to work with them because they're controlling. They don't trust other people. If they do put someone in a position of leadership, they won't allow that person to flourish in that leadership position by giving them latitude. Instead, they're going to helicopter over the person and keep cutting them short and keep them down and under control. They want to use that person like a puppet, even though they've put them in a position of leadership. They're controlling because they don't trust anyone. Some people control because they're trying to reduce their chances of getting hurt. So they hyper-control their relationships and everything everyone's doing at all times. Where are you at? What are you doing? You're on the phone. Who are you talking to? And they're trying to control because they're afraid that they're going to get hurt. But these are internal messes that need to be cleaned up. But unfortunately for some trauma survivors, they're focused on everything they can't control, like other people's behavior. Things they shouldn't control, like other people's actions, instead of focusing on the one thing they can control, which is themselves, their own thoughts and feelings, their own actions. As a result, on the other side, there's those individuals who aren't controlling at all. In fact, they give up all of their power. They give up all of their control all of the time. You see, those individuals who tend to be hyper-controlling because of their trauma are at risk of becoming narcissistic. A narcissist will start to actually use and manipulate people. Their need to be in control comes from a place of vulnerability, but it starts to become malignant, meaning bad for others. And so they actually start to control their mates, take away their power from their mates. And so if you're on the other side of that equation, then you may be used to having a mother or father or a husband or a boyfriend or girlfriend that's controlling, that takes all of the power, that takes up all of the space in the relationship. And what that person does is they make you reliant on them for virtually everything. They gaslight your own thoughts so that you don't trust yourself. What are you talking about? Your keys weren't there. You silly, you really need help. You really need therapy. There's something wrong with you. You don't know where you put your stuff. There needs to be some sort of, you need to be on some sort of medication. Why do manipulators, predators, try to make you doubt your mental capacities? Well, it's so that they can control you all the more. They want you to be reliant on them for all of your information. They want you to be dependent on them for your thinking so that you can do nothing without them. And you may have experienced that. You may have actually gotten to the point where you really felt like you couldn't do anything without your abuser's help. You might stop making decisions for yourself because they make all my decisions. You might stop thinking for yourself and you become infantilized like an infant, and you're just sitting in the backseat of the car and they're doing all the driving. But one day when that narcissist gets bored with you and gets up and leaves, you find yourself just sitting by the window, waiting for them, staring at the phone, hoping that they call. And it doesn't occur to you that you've been giving them all the control and you can take back control. So it's like you're in the backseat of the car, now looking up at the steering wheel. And it doesn't occur to you that you can jump up there, grab that wheel, and take control of your own life. You can start to enjoy making your own decisions. If you're a person like this, you have to start relishing the ability to control your own destiny, the ability to control your own actions, to make your own choices. You can decide what you can eat. When you're in control of yourself and you're not giving that power to someone else, you can decide how you will live. You can decide what you will wear. You can decide if you're going to eat ice cream in the middle of the day or before dinner, or if you're going to take a nap in the morning. You can decide if you're going to sleep in. You can decide. It's good for you to relish, to actually enjoy having a sense of control over yourself, but not trying to control anyone else. Can you start to see where the balance would lie when we really focus on what we can control and we let go of what we cannot control? When we allow someone else to control everything in our life, we start to feel a loss of self. And maybe you've experienced that. You can feel that you have to compromise yourself so much and you have to go against your values so much that you actually feel like you've lost yourself. You start to not know what you would want and what you would do without that narcissistic abuser, without that powerful personality that usually controls everything and makes all the decisions for you. You start to lose yourself. But if you're a controlling person, you realize that you're actually starting to become abusive of others. You're not allowing them to think for themselves. You're not allowing them to develop their own abilities. And this is especially problematic when raising children, because we can, out of a good heart, really want to help our children and keep them safe, but we become too controlling over our children in an effort to keep them safe. So they don't learn to make decisions for themselves because we never ask them, what do you think? What do you want? What do you think is the best decision in this case? We don't allow them to make decisions, and we don't reward them for the decisions they make. Hey, good job. That was a really good choice. If we build our children up, then our children will learn to become strong. But if we clip our children's wings, they become dependent on us forever. You may think that's what you want, but that is the opposite of what you want. Making your child dependent on you forever will become a liability for you and for them. As difficult as it is to let your child spread his wings and fly, you must allow it. You must even encourage it. Help them to transition out of the nest. Help your child to become independent. Don't tell your child, it's really tough out there, you're probably not going to make it, it's really hard with bills and insurance, I don't think you could do it, you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready. Don't tell your child that. And some here are adult children of narcissistic parents, and that's what you heard. You may still be hearing, you're not ready. You're 30-something years old, and according to your mom, you're still not ready to live on your own because it's just too hard. Everyone else can manage it, but you wouldn't be able to manage it. Does that sound logical to you? That everyone else can manage paying bills and living life, but you are not capable? You are the one unique case of an adult that would not be able to handle the problems and the pressures of the world? The reality in that situation is that you're being gaslit. You're being manipulated to believe you have to depend on your abuser. You have to depend on your mommy, or you have to depend on your daddy, and they don't want you to make any decisions without them because they are a narcissist. They're an abuser. They are malignant. And regardless of the fact that they're your parents, they are bad for your health. You can find yourself in a situation where you decide, well, you know what? I don't want to get into financial trouble, so I'm not going to move away from my parents. So you stay under your parents' control, and then you end up on medications for your mental health, hospitalized for your mental health, or in some crippled situation where your mental health concerns actually start to debilitate your physical health. And you can end up with all types of ailments because of your unchecked depression and anxiety, because you don't feel free, because you're constricting the self. And the doctors are all too happy to diagnose you with bipolar and borderline and schizophrenia, and they have lots of titles in their DSM manual that they can give you, and then they have bottles of pills that they can sell you, and these pills are very expensive. It works out for them. They won't mention, hey, what do you think about moving out of your parents' house? They won't mention that because, well, they don't profit off of that. Also, it never occurs to them. But it really is that simple. By separating yourself from the person who's abusing you, you allow yourself to grow. You allow yourself to heal. By staying connected, by staying trauma bonded to the person that's abusing you, you're continuing to be traumatized. So you're not able to grow. You're not able to heal. So instead of focusing on what we cannot control, can we focus in on what we are able to do? Because many of us as adults are actually able to get a job, to get our own bank account, to save up enough for a security deposit on an apartment, to find an apartment online, to go fill out an application, put down your security deposit, and move your belongings out of your parents' house into another house. This is necessary if your parents are mentally unhealthy for you. Give it some thought. If your boyfriend is mentally unhealthy for you, consider this very seriously. You have to prioritize your metaphysical health over your financial well-being and saving face, or not struggling, or not wanting to work, or having difficulties at work. Take the difficulties that come in this world, because in this world, the authorities like your landlord and your boss and all these people that you're afraid of, they're not as bad as your mom and your dad. If your mom and your dad are narcissists, they're actually the worst of what you're going to have to deal with. You're more than prepared to be able to handle it. You are capable. You are capable. You are intelligent. And to that end, in order to get out of not knowing where we should take control and where we shouldn't, we'll need to snap into our conscious mind. So when you live in your conscious mind, then you can start seeing where you're supposed to take control and where you should abdicate control. It takes analyzation. Without analysis, you don't know when to take control and when not to. When we live in our subconscious mind is wired for survival. It's fight, flight, freeze, fawn. 1/12 of a second, it makes decisions for you. That's your subconscious mind. So you will literally live in a constant state of fear, panic, freezing, fighting, yelling, scratching, scraping, running. And you'll have no sense of control over yourself. You must learn to control yourself metaphysically on the inside. You have to learn to balance your energy. And you do that by engaging the cerebral cortex, that is the conscious mind, your analytical mind, and thinking about each situation, because it will be different in every situation as to whether or not you should take control or you should let the control go. How do you engage your conscious mind? Well, it helps if you wait 5 to 7 seconds. I call that the rule of 7 seconds. Before you make any decision, before you react or respond, wait 7 seconds. 5 to 7 seconds. Why? Because it takes that long for your conscious mind to boot up and come online. In any scenario, the first thing that will react is your subconscious. It's there to help you. If you see a snake, subconscious mind says, woo, run right away. We're grateful to have that part of our brain. It's a gift, but we cannot live our life in that part of the mind. We cannot live our life in survival mode. We have to be able to be more than the animal brain because we were designed to be more. You are designed to be a conscious being, to be aware of your metaphysical self and your metaphysical needs. Those are the needs that's beyond what you can see. Your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. You are made to be more than just an animal brain. Oh, I'm running, surviving, just fight, flight. Take a moment, 5 to 7 seconds. Allow the conscious mind to engage and then analyze every situation. So if you have a controlling boss, now how will you respond? The boss is trying to control you. If you're in your subconscious mind, you go, okay, I'll just do whatever I have to do to make my boss happy. Automatically fun. But if you're in your conscious mind, you can analyze every situation because every situation is unique. Sometimes we should just comply and be cooperative. But other times we may need to speak up or stand our ground. Because what if the boss is asking us to do something that's illegal? It takes a moment to realize what's actually being asked of us. 5 to 7 seconds. And then you realize, oh wow, I'm glad I didn't just jump up and do it. I need to think about this and how I'm going to respond. So now you can respond back to the boss respectfully, maybe in an email, maybe just in person, and stand up and say, I don't feel comfortable doing what you asked me to do because it's illegal. Or if the boss asks you to do something that's going to be against your personal limitations, the law of the self, it's crossing your personal boundaries, or it's beyond your physical limitations, or it's beyond your energy limitations. You have to be able to say, what you're asking me to do is too much. Or if it's outside of the bounds of your job requirements. It's hard to enforce boundaries and create boundaries when you're not in your conscious mind. When you're in your subconscious mind is like, just survive, just don't make a scene, just let whatever happens to me happen to me, and you're going to lay down and you're going to be the doormat and you're going to fawn or you're going to freeze or you're going to fight and you're going to regret later what you say and how you act. Engage the conscious mind. Be the higher self. How can you do that? How can you make sure that you're really being the higher self? Remember the acronym EPIC. It helps you to engage that conscious mind. EPIC stands for ethical, powerful, intelligent, compassionate. You need all 4 of these to be the highest self. You can't be the highest self with just 3 or just 2 or just 1 or none. You have to have your ethics, your personal power, your intelligence, and your compassion engaged. And then you are the highest version of yourself. So in every situation, analyze it by bringing in that acronym, EPIC. Engage my ethics, my personal power, my intelligence, my compassion in this situation. Now, what will I do? How will I handle the situation? So in the heat of the moment, your spouse says something really mean to you. If you go in your subconscious mind, you're going to fight and say something mean back to him. You're going to flight, you're going to freeze, or you're going to fawn, but you would regret later all of those decisions because you could have just taken 5 to 7 seconds and then asked yourself, now, ethically, that's my morals. What can I say here and what can't I say? And then in my personal power, I need to engage my personal ability to speak up for myself right now. And if I'm intelligent, it wouldn't be smart for me to say answer A, B. I should use answer C, D. So I think I'm going to ask him a question back to what he just said. In fact, I think I'm going to ask him, what did you say? But I have to engage my compassion Because my compassion is necessary so that I make sure I'm not saying or doing anything that's actually going to cause further harm to him, or to myself. And you see, when you engage all of these, it requires thought. It requires analysis. It might hurt your brain a little bit to do the exercise, but that's okay. It gets easier. Now you've learned to engage the conscious mind. Now you're showing up to these situations as the highest version of yourself. Your epic self. And you say back to your husband, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understood what you just said. And he says, I'm sorry. You know what? I didn't even mean what I just said. I'm just stressed about such and such, so and so. You guys end up having a great conversation, a beautiful night. Why? Because you responded in the highest self. You knew just how to balance out your personal morals, your personal power, your intelligence, and your compassion to give it to him and just hit him right there. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. Did I understand you correct? And then your husband just, it engages his higher self, right? It's like mental health is contagious. When we're powerful, it's contagious. We make other people powerful. When we're intelligent, we help other people to become intelligent. When we're compassionate, when we're ethical, it's contagious. We actually make the world a better place when we make ourselves better. So we want to focus on the internal locus of control. Your own energy is your own responsibility. How you feel is not the responsibility of everyone else. So you cannot walk into the house and start yelling at everyone because you don't feel good. It's your job to balance your energy before you even walk into the house. And if you notice that something's off, not to try to control someone else and say, why are these dishes not done? It's not even the dishes. It's you. You're not controlling what you should be controlling, which is yourself. It's far more effective to balance yourself first and call a meeting with the kids and have them sit down and say, hey, I'm just wondering, what is it that maybe I'm doing wrong? Well, what do you mean, Mom? What do you mean? What are you doing wrong? Well, it's because I thought that I asked you guys to do the dishes, but I came home and I noticed that the dishes weren't done. So I'm wondering if you meant that as a disrespect to me. Maybe you don't respect me. The kids, oh, no, we just forgot. We're so sorry, right? You're getting the reactions you want. You're helping to train your children to think, because what happens if you just yell at your children? Well, they'll do what you want them to do, but it will be based on fear. So you're teaching them to be fear motivated instead of to be analytical and compassionate. What you really want from your children is for them to show concern and compassion for you and to develop as people that show concern and compassion for other people. You want them to recognize their responsibility. By sitting down and speaking to them, they learn in that environment. We only learn in an environment that's calm. They cannot learn while you're yelling. It's impossible. Nobody learns in that environment. They survive in that environment. Don't create survival environments in your household. Engage the highest self. And here's another tool you can use besides just your subconscious mind. Besides just your conscious mind. You can train your subconscious. And I'll just give this to you as a tip. To train your subconscious mind, you have to understand what it is. They call it the animal brain. Your subconscious mind is a computer system. It's a computer system. It has programs that run automatically. It's running all the functions automatically. Your heart, your veins, your digestion, everything's just running for you. It's a beautiful gift. It's just running everything for you automatically. But guess what else it has? It has automatic thoughts and automatic programs. It suggests things to you automatically that sometimes are dumb. Like, hey, you should just go sleep with that guy. And maybe we should just kill that person and we should kill ourselves. It'll say things to you that are not you. And you're like, what was that? The intrusive thoughts, the automatic thoughts, don't trip about them. They are simply just automated suggestions from your computer program. Your computer program needs to work for you. You do not work for your subconscious. Your subconscious works for you. It is a gift. So put it to work. Train it. Dogs are happier in a submissive state. When you do not make the dog the head of the house, when you do not make the dog the one in control, then the dog is happier. When you put the dog in control, when he feels like he has to be the alpha, what happens? He's anxious. He's constantly, he feels afraid all the time. It puts the dog in a bad mental state. Why am I talking about dogs? Because the animal brain. They got the same thing. They got the animal brain. How do you train a dog? Repetition, patience, consistency. You don't have to hit a dog to train it, right? You don't have to yell to train it. So stop yelling at yourself. Stop beating yourself down. Why didn't I do this right? That's not how you train the subconscious mind. You use patience and consistency with your dog, wouldn't you? You just, okay, sit, no, sit, no, sit, no, sit, again and again, sit until they get it right, and then you reward them. Very good, yeah, good, and then you do it again. Sit, sit, and you're there. Half hour, doesn't matter how long it takes. But what happens when you have patience, repetition, you train that animal brain. And that dog, if you are patient and you use repetition, you're consistent, that dog will know exactly what you need him to do, when you need him to do it, and everyone on the block will say, wow, your dog is so well trained. That is amazing. How do you do that? Patience, repetition, consistency. So how do you train your subconscious mind? Same. Be patient with yourself. Use repetition and be consistent. Your self-talk is you speaking to your subconscious. So don't say things like, oh, I could never know how to respond in that situation. If you say that, then you train your subconscious to believe, I don't know. Okay, we don't know. We don't know how to respond. When you say that, by the way, you're saying that you're not powerful. I can't. You're feeding your subconscious mind, I'm not powerful enough to handle it. Don't say, I don't know how I would respond. That self-talk, your subconscious mind says, okay, we don't know. That's not acting in intelligence. Don't say, I would have lost it. Boy, in that situation, I would just lose it. Don't do that. Because when you do that, you're not in your personal power. You're saying you have no personal power over yourself. And you train your subconscious mind to say, okay, we're going to lose it. We got you. Whatever you want us to do, we'll do it. You're training your subconscious mind through your self-talk. If you say, well, I hate people, your subconscious mind says, okay, we hate people. But then you're not being ethical or you're not being compassionate, right? So you have to train in your conscious mind. When you engage your epic self, train the subconscious and tell it exactly what you would do in a given situation. I want you to stand up for yourself. I stand up for myself when someone violates my boundaries. I speak to them in a calm manner. Train the subconscious mind. How are we doing that? Repetition, consistency, patience. I had a situation where my subconscious mind was already trained to know how to respond to the situation. I surprised myself. I might have told you the story where I was outside of the bank and this man starts yelling at this woman. They were both in their cars, but he felt that the woman blocked him in traffic or something like that. So he pulls up beside her and he just starts yelling at her, and he's yelling so loud. And I look at her and I see someone more powerful bullying someone less powerful, and I feel I need to stand up for the disenfranchised. All I know, split second, I'm in front of the car and I'm at the man. Hey, keep driving. I noticed where I was, and I said, how did I get here? I don't even remember deciding I would take this action. What happened? What was my subconscious mind? It had been trained to defend, to stand up for the disenfranchised. So because I recognized her as a victim, I felt it was my need, it was trained to protect someone who is in need. My subconscious mind already knows what to do because I've rehearsed with patience and consistency how I will handle situations where I see someone being bullied. Then the man turns his attention to me and I walk away. And the man starts following me in his car and he's yelling expletives at me and all types of slurs, and he's saying he's going to kill me. How did I respond? I was not triggered. Not even the least bit. I just kept walking. Calmly. Why? Because I've already trained my subconscious mind. It would not be triggered by someone yelling at me. My subconscious mind already knows the training. The training program that I've fed the subconscious mind is if someone yells at you, just walk away. If someone tries to engage you in a fight, just walk away. That's the smarter thing to do. The only time you need to actually become violent is if someone traps you in a situation, and that is the only course of action you can take to protect the self. Then you go ahead and strike out. My subconscious knows what to do because I've trained it. Or if you have to stand up for someone else and you have to protect someone else, you may at times have to use force to pull a bully off of a victim. My subconscious mind is trained. And so I reacted exactly the way I trained my brain to react. And I kept walking, walked away, and eventually it fizzled off and he drove off and I moved on with my day. I ended up having a great day. And you can continue to have great days when you act in your higher self. How? By engaging the conscious mind and by training your subconscious mind.